So welcome to the Node.js Node API team meeting for March 19th, 2021. We'll follow our standard approach, which is to look at the issues that have been tagged for milestone 11. And so let me pull that up. While I'm doing that, does anybody have any announcements they'd like to share?
Yeah, two small ones. Node API 8 has landed on 12. There hasn't been a release yet, but hopefully it'll be in 12.22.0 if all goes well. And the add-on file name patch, well, that adds the add-on file name retrieval API, has also landed on 12, and it's now on master. It has been for a while, so hopefully that'll make it into a release soon.
Yeah, that's great news. Any other announcements? Okay, so let's move on. I will share my screen and share the milestone 11. So the first one is our effort to rename to Node API. I know that Jim did some work and he messaged me that there is a PR here. Find that node, add on examples. Yeah. Which continues to do some updates there. So if people have a chance to take a look and review that, there's a good number of changes. That would be great. We'll get that landed. I don't know if there's anything else we should discuss on that one this week. If not, let's move on. So I know, okay, Nicola, we opened this issue and you opened a document to start a blog post, right?
Yeah.
Not sure if we've made any progress on it yet. Not yet. Okay. I don't know, do we need to talk about like how to get started on that or what the next steps are?
Yeah, I haven't had much of a chance to look at it, honestly.
I think that we need to know when we will change the documentation on the Node core. So maybe just after that we can publish this blog post. So yeah, it's
So I'm just looking at the list that we have here to see, because I think we've already changed everything we thought in Node Core that we were going to change. Gabriel, is that what you? I know you did a bunch of the changes, so I think it was complete.
Yeah, in core, I think we're good to go. There is one thing that I would like to do, which is to backport the test changes to 14, because otherwise we're buying ourselves a free ride to having all NAPI PRs be manual backports if I don't make that change, because
right, okay.
And it's even more subtle than you might think, because it actually, everything still builds, but then you have like unresolved symbols, because like Node API call is not a function anywhere, and we don't have like it doesn't error out on unresolved symbols. It just warns about unresolved symbols. So the add-ons will build, but then the tests will crash, and so nothing can be backported automatically if we don't backport the test changes.
Yeah, okay. The documentation for 15, Node 15 is already with Node API. So yeah, I think that yeah, we can think to what to write on this blog post. So
right. So I guess how do we?
And in the blog post we can say, okay, in the next version of 14 and I don't know, 12, for sure. We will have the same change, no?
Right, now for users, that's not going to be visible on 14. I guess nothing's really going to be visible for users, right?
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't planning on backporting the doc PR, so yeah, it may or may not get automatically backported depending on if it applies cleanly or not. Though it probably doesn't, because usually the version in which any given API was released has different values for
Okay.
for master and 14. Although, yeah, 14 being the leading LTS for now, it might actually apply. So yeah, I don't know. This backporting business is always like a, it's not stable, so to speak, because it depends on if the PR clashes or not.
So for now, we can say, okay, from node 15. So we changed the name, but essentially it's the same the same API.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I would even say, even mention a release, because I don't think it's specific to a release, because I just don't want people to get confused to think, well, oh, something's different in release 15 or 14, or, I think if we kind of talk about what changed and didn't change in more like, hey, we changed like the badges and the references, right?
Yeah.
Badges, references, I guess it should really references. Badges, I guess the test, it was the test folder that we changed, was it?
Yep.
Test folder.
Yeah, we changed yeah.
So non-impacting. Did not. Symbols. External. Just sort of typing out some of the things we might cover there.
Yeah.
So the rename landed in 15.9.
Okay.
Sort of that's kind of the top level, not the right words, but I don't know if there's other things we should add into this.
Yeah, this is pretty good.
Okay, so then we'll need somebody to spend some time diving into that, writing some spend some time expanding. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay. Okay, anything more we should discuss today? Okay, if not, let's move on to the next one. Let's look at the stale issues. This one.
I need to make some changes that Gabriel suggested yesterday to me.
Okay.
Yeah, we can
Okay, so basically you have an issue open.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Just a
just
few
a
more
minor nit.
suggestions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Okay.
some extra spaces and a copy paste.
Okay.
Issue.
So basically that's pretty much done. Nothing really
Yes.
to discuss, right? Okay, sounds good. This one then.
And I think
We
that
have a PR for this.
we have a PR, yes,
Okay.
a draft. Yeah.
Okay, so I think this one, I'm wondering, should I take it off the, once we have PRs, I'm thinking we can take them off the stale list. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, because we are probably, don't need to talk about them again in this context. And I don't think, if anybody sees any issues that go stale that they think we should talk about, just add them in here. I think a couple I've seen gone stale recently, but they kind of look like things where, you know, conversation is tailed out and didn't need us to do anything. Okay, good. So we're on top of our stale issues, which is good. Tracking issues for things we've noticed that were ported. Don't think there's anything new there. We'll do the npm. Oh. So this is always the funny. We're down a little bit. Guess we were up to 4 million at one point, so I don't know what's going on with that, but let's see. You can look and see, is this a, so, see, Express is down a little bit too. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. Nothing significant's going on that front. Oops. Oh. Okay, so let's move on to the next issue. I haven't reviewed the external examples or looked at adding the debug testing for add-ons, sort of long suffering on our backlog, but that's okay. So looking at the list of issues, are there any, first before we sort of look at the lists, are there any ones that people want to call out we should talk about? I saw, Gabriel, was it that the one on Node that had to do with finalization landed just recently?
Yeah, on master, and I backported it to 14, which is really where it's needed, and so
okay.
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, I'm just waiting on the 14 ones, because there was a recent proposal for a 12, and so that pulled in all the 12 backports that we had, but for 14 we still have.
Has it already landed? Because I looked for it and didn't find it, but
it landed where?
In 14.
Oh no, 14 has three open PRs: the version NAPI or Node API version 8, the add-on file name, and now the
Okay.
GCref stuff.
Did you just do that this morning?
Last night, actually.
Oh, okay.
11 hours ago, to be precise.
I'm just asking because I looked for it and didn't find it, but I must not have looked for it.
Yeah, it's 37802 is
okay,
the
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to build the test against some other issue, 37802.
802, yeah.
And so I ended up cherry picking it over, but.
Oh, and then you ran into the Node API call thing for the tests, unless you didn't run the tests.
I haven't run the tests, no.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this
So I didn't cherry pick it properly as the, yeah, I just made the one change. So, okay, well, this is good. I can grab this now instead. I'll grab your branch 37. Of course, I have to rebuild everything, but that's fine. Okay, so all this, right, this is the actual change. And then some of this is name changing.
Yeah, there's no, it's just everything in the test that's Node API call needs to be changed back to an API call. That's all.
Right, okay.
So it doesn't, like the change to the actual core is exactly the same, like bit for bit.
Okay, so I was about to find it. I just, yeah, I cherry picked and I started building. I thought it completed, but yeah, got it now. Okay, that's good. So that one, yeah, because that one I'm interested to see. I don't think it's going to fix the other issue I looked at, but I want to see. So that's good that that one goes back. Does it need to go? It doesn't need to go any further?
I don't think so.
No.
I
Okay.
mean, yeah, it's probably happening on 12, but I'm not sure that 12 is sufficiently similar so that, you know, we don't need to do another intellectual exercise rather than just a porting exercise.
Okay. Well, yeah,
I can check. I can certainly check to see
if
what
it fixes the case that I was going to try it against, then we probably should port it to 12. But otherwise,
you know, let me just check out 12 because we may not even have like the environment teardown reference cleanup in 12 at all.
Well, kind of what I was thinking. Like I didn't know whether it made it back.
Yeah, let me check out v12.x staging and edit JS native API v8.cc. Actually, that's not the one I want to edit. I want to edit the H. Oh, we do have ref tracker. Well.
All the way back to 12.0.
All. Yeah, we have finalize all in 12. So then this may be worth backporting further still before 12 sort of petrifies into a maintenance version. Okay.
So I was just looking. I was running a sample that had SQLite. And there was something where we were getting a fatal exception after like in shutdown. So I wondered if, you know, this is quite possibly not related, but I just wondered because I know it was.
And it's happening on 12, eh?
Well, I tested it back to 12. Like I tested it with 14 and it failed. And I said, well, I wonder if it's something we recently broke. So I went back to. No, actually, I looked at the most recent 12. I went back to 14.0 to make sure it wasn't something we'd broken, which it hadn't because it was.
Oh, I see. Okay.
14. And then I tried the latest 12, and it also happened. So.
Okay. All right.
It may be a bug in the code that's trying to run something during shutdown that it shouldn't.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
But it could be related to this too. Who knows?
Okay, so this sounds like, oh dang, I just missed the opportunity to release it in 12.22. Well, next one then, because this one is like Semver patch, so it should be able to go into any of them.
Okay, so any other node here? I can check the other. If this is tagged, let's see. Any other ones tagged we should look at? This is an issue, I think, related to some of those other things, right?
Yeah, this is it's kind of a proposal for how we might handle the distinction between like an exception thrown and the inability to execute JavaScript in a Semver minor way. Yeah, it's a bit roundabout, but it has to be if it's going to be Semver minor.
Right. I think we discussed the other suggestion I had too of like a call you could opt in with.
Yeah. This is kind of that.
That's what this is. Okay.
Yeah. If you have a look whenever you have a chance.
But I think this one you described as you actually like there was a callback that you would then do something in versus just saying.
Oh yeah.
Give me different responses.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yes, you're right. So instead of like instead of is exception pending, you would say like was JavaScript or was the exception because of inability to execute JavaScript, only in a more succinct API name.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Then this is a little
thing in there. method. Actually, it's here. I should put it into the, come on. I'm trying to get it into the one I've shared. Why is that not? There we go. Okay. So basically, I'm just going to make it so that have a method to opt into better return codes. Or not able.
Oh yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, we could store like a flag on the environment, right? Okay, yeah. Can you please add that? Oh, too late. Well, you can edit.
Oh, no, I can.
Like a flag on the environment.
Right.
Like have a flag on the environment.
Right. This could store the setting of the environment.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, because that's a.
I'm thinking about that. It's similar to the case that caused a crash on the finalizer when tearing down.
Yeah.
So currently, the developers have to determine that if the finalizer can be run during teardown, since we cannot execute JavaScript during teardown, right? So, but the finalizers in Node API, they do accept a Node env as a argument. So that might be indicating that we can safely calling JavaScript during the finalization, and that will be very easy to be used in normal way, but not. And then the developers might crash into the situation that the API is returning, like say, we cannot call into JavaScript during teardown, right?
Okay,
so I'm thinking that if we can, like say, promote these finalizers before the environment is being teared down, or the developer have to distinguish these situations in their code. That is, say, there might be the time we might be able to code JavaScript, but the other time we cannot execute JavaScript in the same place, right? So I'm thinking that will be somewhat awkward for developers to handle to process in this situation.
Yeah. One thing we might be able to do is maybe move this up in the environment teardown sequence. So yeah, make it like the first step of environment teardown is to get rid of the Node API references, while you can still execute JavaScript. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But the thing is, the environment is in the finalizer because there are still some things you can do. It's just, you cannot set properties on objects or delete properties from objects. That kind of thing you cannot do because that requires JavaScript execution. But there are still many APIs you can use. So on the other hand, we could just restrict ourselves to documenting and pointing out that inside a finalizer, you may or may not be able to execute JavaScript.
But that will be an option. But since the latest ECMAScript introduced a reference, like a weak reference in JavaScript natively, so there might be a intuition that in Node API, these finalizers can also execute arbitrary JavaScript code, right? So I was thinking that if we are making the finalizers not unable to call into JavaScript, will be not intuitive to developers.
Yeah, so I mean there are differences between the native API and the JavaScript API, and some of those differences are unavoidable. However, I do believe that it's worth exploring whether it is possible to set it up in such a way that you can execute arbitrary JavaScript by changing the environment teardown sequence. So yes, let's have a look. But if not, then we have no choice but to say that yes, I know you can do it in JavaScript, but this isn't JavaScript. Right? This is native. So, you know, the engine behaves differently on the native side than on the JavaScript side. So we're going to have to go one of these two ways, depending on the outcome of the experiment, whereby we try to move up the environment teardown to a point where JavaScript can still be executed.
And I think it also relates to the thread termination, right? Because it sounds like during thread termination, it then says that any JavaScript calls you make are just going to fail, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, if we move things up, I mean, you know, there is a point during thread termination where it is determined that, oh, this is thread termination, therefore I should tell the engine to, you know, stop executing JavaScript. Now the question is it possible to hook into that decision and precede that decision with the cleanup of all the Node API references? That's what we need to find out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking like it's got to be not just normal termination, or it may get even more confusing, right?
Well, I mean the two, you know, with the advent of like the well-defined node environment, the distinction between thread termination and process termination should be ever diminishing, right?
But I was thinking like for regular, like when a thread finishes normally, yes. I'm thinking of like the actual, there's a call on a worker thread to say stop, like terminate.
Yeah.
And that can happen in the middle of you running any code, whereas the regular thread termination should be, you know, easier to handle.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay. So when all the tasks are finished, kind of thing.
Well, yeah, because like when that's very close to Node just shutting down itself, right?
Yeah.
Whereas saying thread.terminate is much more disruptive. You could be in the middle of anything.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Okay. So even within the experiment, there are two further cases, which is can we do it for graceful termination, and then can we do it for like sudden and prejudice termination, so to speak?
Yeah, because we'd want to document, like if we could only do one, it might still be worthwhile, because, you know, if you can do an easier, better cleanup most of the time, that would make sense.
Yeah.
But documenting it either way to say, but be forewarned, there's this case where, like, you know, you may want to be able to say, if you get a, you know, maybe at the, you know, if you get this am I terminating error code, you should basically just bail completely, because you can now no longer do any JavaScript.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, identifying the precise conditions under which JavaScript can and cannot be executing, and pushing for like maximizing the conditions under which it can be, seems to be like the sort of the research we have to do.
Right, because it's normally you can run, like if it just finalizes normally, you can run whatever, right? So that's probably the expectation. No, am I wrong on that?
Well, Anna correctly pointed out that during a GC pass, things are pretty unstable as they are, and so that's why she added set immediate to the buffer finalizer, right? Which is causing that issue where you try to just create buffers in like a busy loop, and they never go out of scope, so to speak. At least not on the native side. So there is that issue, and I don't believe we've ever run the experiment with regular references that are not to buffers or array buffers, as to whether, you know, those finalizers get called, because unlike buffer and array buffer finalizers, regular reference finalizers are called using like the second pass callback technique that we have.
Think that one is like there's no guarantee as to when the finalizer or the code will be run.
Well, I believe, well, you know, with environment teardown handlers, we do provide such a guarantee that they will run at least when the environment tears down, right? But
right, but any so
yeah, not
if
from the
something
engine.
becomes collectible, anytime it can be collected any time between when it becomes eligible to be collected and tear down at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so yeah, there could be like a buildup of these things if you create them in a tight loop. Yeah.
So I think that's kind of a different issue versus whether you can call JavaScript or not, which is pretty fundamental. Like if I write a finalizer and it's trying to free up some stuff.
Yeah.
And it's going to error out sometimes. Like that's the thing that we would want to document versus like.
You know, it sounds like we will be unable to completely avoid the inability to call JavaScript from a finalizer, right? There will always be a case, it sounds like, where we will not be able to call into JavaScript. And so I think it might be worth implementing the bit where we handle that, or we provide users with the means to handle that by way of this issue on the screen.
Yep.
And then we can maximize the cases where you can execute JavaScript if that sounds like desirable, which
separate, you know, that could be a separate thing too. It's kind of like, the warning is you should handle this case because it's always possible that you will not be able to
call into JavaScript.
And here's how you can you can opt into this to get better return codes, and if you get this return code, that's what it means. So at that point,
do it without JavaScript.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it sounds like a plan.
Okay. Okay. So sorry, I'm just trying to get back to. Do I have one here? Okay. Well, no. Maybe I shouldn't have closed that. Issues here. Okay. Here we go. Right. I guess I don't see anything else too new there to discuss. Let's look at Node add-on API. So here, I see, Jack, you've opened a few issues for test coverage for different objects and stuff.
Yeah, and also added like the tests for these missing.
Okay.
For this. Yeah.
Excellent. So do you have questions for us or anything we want to sort of dive into there, or things just you're working away and things are good?
Yeah, things are good. Yeah, just like slowly learning the API and how they work and stuff.
Okay, excellent. Okay, let's see what else we got here. This one, I think I left it open only because, okay, so that one's being fixed, nothing really to talk about there. There was one I want to talk about, but I think it's one of the PRs. It was this one still, maybe throw.
Oh yeah, is this the one
we talked a bit about last time? I think Kevin wanted to take a closer look, but
okay.
The one thing I will mention is I actually came across what could be a real life situation.
Of it throwing something other than an error object? Is that what this is?
Well, I guess I don't know, but like I can see during teardown, so like we're basically freeing the environment.
Oh yeah.
And we've got a case where this throw as JavaScript exception as being turned into a fatal error.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's sort of like, so I don't know. It could be like this says, oh, this is why we want to have the fatal error because it shows that somebody made a mistake. Or it could be the case that it's like, hey, there couldn't have been anything they could do, so it would have been better to say, yeah, we're shutting down. Let's just
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it would be good to know what the non an API OK status call was because I have a strong suspicion it was an API pending exception.
Right. There was already, exactly, yeah. So it's kind of like figuring that out to say, but I came across this and I think it's like at least another real world, it's a real world thing that might help us inform what we want to decide to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, yeah, there was nothing they could do, or, well, yeah, it's, and this is the one I'm also going to check to see if that other fix fixes it.
Okay, yeah. If it happens to be the double free, yeah.
Yeah, like if it's actually running twice or something, and that's why it's causing a problem. But it's sort of lower likelihood, I think. But okay.
Okay, yeah, I see this. Okay, so this is the one that you spoke about with 14
yes,
and 12. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, definitely worth testing. Yeah, because if it's that issue, then it's
totally unrelated to this discussion.
Yeah,
I think it's small chance, but worth testing. So
yeah, good.
That's the only one I kind of had on my list. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about any other ones.
I have a fix regarding the linters. If there is any one that encountered linter failures. Previously, we have enabled pre-commit check on the incremental change checks. So it seems like the checks is not checking the same thing during the linked fix job while compared to the commit check. So this PR is pending to fix the to ensure that we fix and check the same changes during the different jobs.
Okay, that's definitely good because I have run into, I think, a few funny things still. Any other questions on that one? No. Okay. Any other ones people want to bring up? Let me see if I can get back to where was I? If not, then I think we're at the end of the agenda for today. And anything else we should talk about before we close out?
Okay,
if not, okay. Well, if not, then great. We'll talk to everybody in GitHub and next week. Thanks for all your time.